Well, welcome to Weather to Watch. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. We're going to take you through the weather and the highlights of the weather for, about the next 2 weeks or so. Take us into the middle part of February. We will start off, as I usually do, by taking a look at the satellite loop for the entire country. The west is pretty much fair. Not much going on at all there with high pressure aloft in control. Meanwhile, we have one little storm system kind of flaring up in the southeast and more clouds coming into the north central U.S. If we take a look at the 500 millibar flow, we have, and this has been a common theme, a trough in the eastern U.S. and that's been there, more or less off and on, but more on than off pretty much since November. It's had variations, of course, sending down a lot of cold air here over the last, let's say, 10 days or so, and it's not quite done doing that yet. But once this little trough of pressure moves through, I think that the pattern is going to moderate as the opening slide indicates. I think winter's going to kind of wear off a little bit across much of the country. If we take a look at the surface map, at least according to how the weather models think it should look at about 4 o'clock central today, high pressure is centered up over Iowa and Minnesota. And there's a little wave, as we call them, along the front, a little low pressure area there in Georgia. Florida's moderating somewhat, but that cold front there in the panhandle is going to move through there. Meanwhile, the northeast is very, very chilly, and the west is pretty quiet at this hour. If we take a look at the storm that has been moving through the Ohio Valley, that winter weather advisory that was in effect past couple of days for areas of the Ohio River Valley is now pretty much centered over the central and eastern part of North Carolina, where, of course, they got all the snow this past weekend, and a little winter storm watch in a sliver of the Appalachians there from just east of Charleston up to the east of Pittsburgh in that area there. So I want to show you the EPS mean anomalies, and the one thing I'll do differently this time is I'll show you, and this always has the ability to do this, just never showed it to you before. So what this does is it takes the 500 millibar flow and averages out over a week and shows you where it's a little bit above and where it's a little bit below normal, so the anomalies. And so what this is showing you beginning a couple of days ago and going through this coming Sunday is at the upper levels, we have a big ridge developing in southern Canada there north of Montana and a trough over the eastern U.S., but most of that is centered out over the Atlantic. So that, again, kind of sums up the general flow for what's left of this week and the next 5 days or so. Now, if we extend this one more week ahead and start this coming Monday and go for 7 days, you notice there's pretty much a flip-flop here. So now the western U.S. is going to be experiencing troughing aloft, while eastern Canada is going to be seeing a little bit of ridging. So this is a complete flip-flop of the pattern that, like I just said, has been pretty much established with a few variations all winter. It's led to a lot of lake effect snow. It only produced that one storm, that snowstorm, and it was a big one, of course, that went from New Mexico all the way to New England, and that's it. So will that happen again? Well, we'll talk about that here in a minute. Let's take a look at the temperature anomalies that go with that. Again, this is the first of the 2 weeks. So it started this past Monday. You can see the temperature anomaly centered over the Carolinas. Very, very chilly. Pretty much everything southeast of the Ohio River is really, really abnormally chilly. The Carolinas and Florida getting the brunt of that on average over the next, again, what's left of this 5 days. Whereas Western Canada is toasty. And then if we look at the pattern, this is the graph I first showed you when the video started. These are temperature anomalies expected the 9th and going through the 16th, the next 7 days. And that's warm. Almost all the U.S., including the northern U.S., very, very warm indeed. And I'll show you the temperature pattern here and the high temperatures, at least as they're starting to develop this week. But what this is telling you is that what I'm going to show you coming up for this week is going to last and even be enhanced a little bit more the week after that. If we look at the 500 millibar flow, this is the EPS. This is over the next 6 days, and it shows one more trough slamming through Florida, but getting out quickly, and one more little surge of cold air there, that yellow high winds. But then we're starting to see a pattern reversal with ridging in the central U.S. And at the very end of this, you start to see that beginning trough pattern out over the western U.S., and that's going to have some pretty significant impacts on weather as well. So if we take a look at the 8 to 14 day hazards. That begins on the 12th and goes through the 18th, basically. You're starting to see now a slight risk of some heavy snows throughout all of the higher elevations of Colorado, Wyoming, spreading all the way up into Idaho and Montana, and also the western mountain ranges, the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades, and then rain on the coastal version of that. Southern Arizona looks it could be a little wet about mid month or so. And then there's this other area here. If this actually turns out to be a better risk, or actually turns out to be several inches of rain in the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys here, this would be a potential problem only in the fact that you're not just talking about the rain, you're also talking about the implied warmer weather that goes with that and the melting of the snow, which was pretty heavy through this area, especially on the northern end of that green area. So it's something worth watching. A little high river, little flooding possibilities there about the middle of February or so. Also, to go with that, this I found this kind of curious. I don't look at this much this time of year. I look at it every day. I just don't talk about it. But NIU's severe supercell composite outlook for the third week, which is the 18th through 24th, does show, and it's not a very high probability as compared to spring and summer values, but it does show this arcing area of potential severe weather, basically from central Texas arcing up to around Nashville or so, including pretty much all of Arkansas and slivers of the states surrounding that. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and it goes along with the general pattern I'm trying to convey here, which is troughing in the western U.S. and ridging in the eastern U.S. And the temperature pattern now, we're going backwards here to tomorrow, Thursday. We've already established very warm temperatures here. Again, the numbers at the cities are the highs, and the colors are how much above or below normal those highs are. So again, east of the Mississippi, cool. West of the Mississippi, warm. That's Thursday. Skipping 2 days ahead to Saturday. The cool in the Northeast still hanging on with very cold air in Pennsylvania and New York State, especially. In fact, the coldest high in the country. That's that blue star, by the way, in upstate New York. And again, the Central Plains in particular. And some of that is ridging and some of that is compressional warming. So you have winds that blow over the Rockies and sink and warm and really make those areas very toasty. Then we skip ahead to Monday of next week. And the pattern is pretty much the same. It's still cool in the Northeast, but that'll be the last days, I think, of that. Whereas beyond that, again, in that 8 to 14 day range, I think it'll even warm up in the Northeast. And then the last map we'll look at here is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, Tuesday through Saturday. Again, it does show that warming in the Central Plains, a little bit of cooler left in New England, and that's it. So that's our weather to watch for today. And if you've been watching this, you can tell this is not my typical broadcast. I'm not at my main office or my center where I do this. I'm on a laptop on vacation. So that explains all this. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll have another one out probably coming up this weekend.